everybody and welcome to Bishopsgate Institute. My name is Michelle Johansen and I'm a London historian working in archives interpretation at the Institute. And on behalf of the Institute, I'd like to welcome you all here today for the Everyday Muslim Symposium, an opportunity for people with an interest in British Muslim heritage, history and cultures to come together to share methods and findings and hopefully begin to make useful connections between and across projects and sectors. Bishopsgate Institute is an independent library and cultural institution that has existed on this site since the 1890s to provide informal education and leisure opportunities to audiences of all types and abilities from a range of backgrounds. Today we deliver a courses programme for adult learners, which includes lunchtime and evening classes in languages, dance, art history, London history and more. We also offer a varied cultural events programme of music and talks, and we provide venue space for large and small corporate hire and social events. We've got brochures all over the place, especially at the front of the building, so do feel free to help yourself to those before the end of the day. Much of our activity is directly inspired by the content and character of our library and archive holdings. Apart from offering a quiet space for study, our library area is popular with historians and others carrying out research using our world-renowned collections. Collections that fall into two broad camps. On the one hand, we have thousands of pamphlets, flyers and posters documenting the history of labour, protest and radical movements since around 1800. On the other hand, we have photographs, manuscripts, press cuttings and a body of ephemera that records London history since around 1700, but with an emphasis on the 19th and 20th centuries. The focus is citywide, but our collections are especially strong in materials relating to East London, and more often than not, these items tell the story from a bottom-up perspective. That is, we are especially interested in the everyday experiences of so-called ordinary people, a form of social history that Raphael Samuel and other historians of the 1960s onwards have termed history from below. The archive of Raphael Samuel, by the way, is here in our collections. Our archive is a growing and well-used body of materials. We bring new items in all the time. Our archive and library staff are particularly keen to keep our collections documenting the history and heritage of East London current, ensuring they reflect social changes happening in London today, and striving to make certain they chronicle many voices and perspectives, including, or especially, the stories less told. I met Sadia Ahmed, the founder of Hijra Foundation, who initiated the Everyday Muslim project, at a training event almost 4 years ago. And I was struck by her energy, enthusiasm and dedication as she described her proposal for a project that would start to address a key absence in London's museums and archives. The absence being, of course, that the lives, experiences and contributions of Muslim men and women to British heritage were insufficiently recorded and documented. As Sadia developed and refined her proposed project, the project that would become Everyday Muslim, we continued to meet and speak. I was keen to have some involvement in the project on a personal level because I shared Sadia's concerns about the underrepresentation of Muslim communities in British galleries and libraries. As an organisation, we at Bishopsgate Institute were also keen to play a part. We had long been uncomfortably aware that our own local history collections did not capture and chronicle the diverse experiences of the Bangladeshi Muslim communities living practically on our doorstep. Where materials had been donated, they tended to sit within our political collections, and the emphasis was on struggle, protest and suffering. We did not want to deny the challenges facing new arrivals to the East End during the second half of the 20th century, many of whom share the Muslim faith and South Asian origins. But we did wish to record a broader range of stories. Specifically, we wanted to make sure we also collected materials that could sit within our London collection, items that documented the everyday experiences of so-called ordinary South Asian Muslims in East London across this time period. What were they cooking and eating? How did people spend their leisure time? Where did they shop? How did they celebrate key personal and family milestones? And all the other seemingly trivial questions about daily life that appear important only once it's too late to ask them. Sadia's project proposed to address these questions and more through oral history interviews and a community collecting programme that would gather photographs and ephemera which might be deposited in our archive and made available for researchers and historians for generations to come. Fast forward 4 years and we find ourselves here today, the Heritage Partner organisation on the Everyday Muslim project. Thanks to Sadia's original vision, her extraordinary dedication to the development of the Learning and Heritage programme from scratch, and her ongoing commitment to its management, delivery and growth. thanks to a grant from the Heritage Lottery Fund. And thanks to the support of a well-informed, knowledgeable and engaged volunteer team, the Everyday Muslim project is now entering its second successful year. More than 30 oral history interviews have been carried out, 2 project exhibitions have taken place, and hundreds of photographs have been collected for the project archive. As I said at the start, today's symposium is an opportunity for people with an interest in British Muslim heritage, history and cultures to come together to share methods and findings. We have allowed time for discussion, networking and debate through the day, and we hope you'll take advantage of this. We also hope you will forgive any organisational lapses in the lead up to the event and during today, for instance a late start. We have planned a modest half-day programmes of talks for an audience of around 30 to 40 people. The levels of interest were so high when we put out the call for papers that we had to rapidly rethink the programme. Ideally, we would have extended the event across 2 days, but our resources didn't support this, so we find ourselves with an ambitious full-day symposium that includes art installations in our library, spoken word and a really rich and varied programme of talks from speakers across Britain, representing a range of organisations, sectors and specialisms. From collecting to exhibiting to interpreting, heritage processes that have a bearing on how British Muslims are recorded, represented and remembered will be addressed by practitioners from the museums and archive sector. Academics and scholars will provide context with papers that offer fresh interpretations of British Muslim historical narratives. We are extremely grateful to all the speakers who have given up their time to join us today to share their expertise and knowledge of what we hope will be the first of many Everyday Muslim Symposia.